Good day, scholars. It's Mr. Alan, and I'm glad to host you in another science lesson. And today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic, and this topic is energy conservation, or you can say energy conversion. So in energy conversion and energy conservation, we are simply looking at how energy in nature is transformed from one form to another, and from one point to another, or from one body to another. It's just a flow of energy in the environment. We're going to be looking at different forms of energy as treated in the last class, and we're going to be making reference to them to further on this lesson. So today we are learning to deduce the meaning of energy conversion, and the word 2 is we're learning to explore some examples of energy conversion. Let's look at the wheel. What I'm looking for is the ability to vividly explain what energy conversion entails and cite some real life examples. So we're going to be looking at the principle of energy conversion. There's this principle that states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to another. We call it the first law of thermodynamics. To further on that, the principle of energy conversion is invoked during the conversion of one form of energy into another. So energy can move from one body to another, or from one object to another, depending on the condition the form of energy is moving. We're going to look further on this as I go to the next slide. In our previous class, we treated forms of energy. So this is a quick reminder that we have mechanical energy, and it is divided into potential and kinetic energy. Potential energy is energy at rest, while kinetic energy is energy in motion that is caused by movement. Electrical energy is another major form of energy which is common to our daily lives, as it helps us to power most of our electrical appliances and our machines and other industrial production. Light energy is also a major form of energy, and we get it from different sources. The solar energy burns two gases, hydrogen and helium, to produce light and heat energy. So light energy helps to brighten up our world, the environment, and even the artificial lights in the house. Then we have thermal energy, it's also known as heat energy. Thermal energy is the energy that is generated when substances burn in the environment. It produces heat. Then sound energy is also another major source of energy, and this is the energy that helps us to communicate as we talk and transmit sound from one point to another, which links to today's topic, energy conversion. Now there are other forms of energy, as you can see in the next slide. We have thermal energy. When ice cream melts under the condition of probably sunlight or normal room temperature, heat energy helps to melt substances that are solid. So it's a transformation of energy to do that work or to get the job done. Now in heating soup, heat energy is also transferred from a source. Could be a CAM gas burner or an electric cooker, and it heats up the soup, and in a short while it begins to boil. So the boiling effect is caused by the movement of heat energy from the source to the container to the pot that is being used to heat the soup. In the case of this electromagnetic energy, that's the energy that revolves around a magnet. A magnet has the ability to emit electromagnetic energy when electricity is passed through magnets. In the case of radio speakers in our electric devices or electronic devices, now it is converted from electrical energy to mechanical energy. Then the energy is now transmitted into the speaker and comes out as sound energy. Now in the case of what we call nuclear energy, these are energy that are emitted spontaneously or voluntarily by certain substances in the environment, like uranium, radium, and other radioactive elements. On their own, they emit energy, and this energy is called nuclear energy because it has to do with the breaking down of the neutrons and electrons and even the protons in that substance, which moves with the help of kinetic energy, and they come out in form of nuclear fusion, where chemicals have to break down, or substances break down into smaller forms, and it's used to make certain devices like explosives and other ammunition. Call them nuclear weapons of mass destruction. The sun also burns hydrogen and helium gases, and when this is happening, the gases moves in a random motion in form of a circular or a spherical manner. That is kinetic energy, and when it happens, it is converted to light and heat energy, which reaches the earth in 8 minutes thereabouts. I'll move to chemical energy in this case. Now, in most foods we eat, chemical energy is stored in food. The nutrients we derive from foods we eat, when it's broken down by the digestive system, are called chemical energy. And why they are called chemical energy is because the foods are broken down into smaller molecules or particles or nutrients that is in an absorbable form for the body to use for release of energy to do work. So all the foods we eat gives us chemical energy, be it solid or liquid food. So in this case, chemical energy in foods is being transformed or converted to usable energy in the body. But before the nutrient is used up by the body, it must be taken around the body with the help of the circulatory system, or what we call the blood stream. So the movement of blood carrying dissolved oxygen and nutrients, which is the chemical energy, is the conversion of chemical energy to kinetic energy, because it has to move to different parts of the body. And when the body uses up the energy, it will produce heat energy. And at the long run, when we're at rest, we return back to potential energy. So conversion of energy in a food is from chemical energy to kinetic energy. Then the body uses up the energy that was taken up to it, and it produces heat. We emit heat from our body where we need to take a shower to stay cool and maintain our body's temperature. And from the heat energy, it is taken back to potential energy when we are at rest, probably sleeping, or when we are not so much involved or engaged in a physical activity. So this is just an energy conversion when it comes to eating foods. So this energy conversion happens in different phases, and when you deal with different substances or objects in the environment. Okay, so having said that, I'll just go on to this, moving further to explain how these forms of energy are converted from one form to another. There's another picture showing you the energy from the sun, solar energy. So when the sun produces light and heat energy by burning hydrogen and helium gases, plants absorb the sun's light and stores them in its chlorophyll. It mixes with inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water, and it is used to produce food or starch for the plant growth and development. Then the chemical energy stored in this plant in form of starch will be consumed by man or human from eating plant materials like bread. In this case, we have apple here, or any plant material at all. It stores chemical energy in form of starch or glucose. Now when this is taken, it will energize this boy's body or this human body to be able to carry out what we call mechanical energy, which is applied in riding or pedaling this bicycle to move from one point to another. So while the mechanical energy involves the physical effort of the legs and the hand handling the bicycle to move it from one point to the other, the movement of the bicycle from one point to the other is called kinetic energy. And when this is happening, sound is produced by the movement of the bicycle, by the pedaling of the bicycle. And if he also applies brake to halt the bicycle, or decided to maybe press the honk of the bicycle to sound an alarm for incoming people or vehicles, he produces sound energy. Then when he applies brake eventually to stop, we call that stopping potential energy. So in this picture, energy has been converted from the sun, that's solar energy, to light and heat energy, which is stored in this plant. Then it is now stored in form of chemical energy, which is taken in by man when he consumes plant materials. And then he uses the energy generated to do work, like in this case riding a bicycle. So we call that mechanical energy. And mechanical energy involves both kinetic and potential energy. So kinetic energy here is the movement of this bicycle, and when he eventually applies the brake, it goes back to potential energy. But meanwhile, while the bicycle was riding, he produces some sound and also some thermal energy, because he will sweat or perspirate due to the generation of heat in his body. So energy conversion takes place in different phases from one form to another. So here, the law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only change form, like I said in the introduction of this lesson. Okay, look at this picture. Here is a battery or a cell, as the case may be. And in a cell, we have chemical energy stored in it in form of the lead and the electrode that makes up the battery. Now, this cell, when it is connected in a flashlight here, the chemical energy is changed or converted to electrical energy when we turn on the switch of the flashlight. And as soon as we turn on the switch, the light bulb here gets turned up or lighting, and we call that radiant or light energy. So the energy conversion here is from chemical energy to electrical energy and to light energy. Then when you turn off the flashlight, it returns back to potential energy, because it's energy at rest waiting to happen. This is just a summary of what I explained earlier in terms of chemical energy stored in plants. Energy conversion in plants. Simply put, the chemical energy in the food you eat comes from the sun's energy, which is light majorly. Then also the sun produces heat energy, but it's not really required by plants in photosynthesis. Now, plants use photosynthesis to convert light energy to chemical energy by mixing the light energy stored in the chlorophyll with carbon dioxide and water that came from the root of the plant into the body, and it is converted and produce starch or glucose in food. Then when we consume this food, in this case this is an apple, it produces energy in the long run for the body to do work. So when the body gets to do work by involving ourselves in different physical activities, writing, jumping, running, riding, and so on, the body produces heat energy because we will perspirate at some point, because all the organs or systems of the body are working, and the things we do produces sound in a way, because you might be working on something that generates sound, so that's sound energy. Then when we move from one place to another, that's a conversion to kinetic energy. Then when we get to halt, to rest, or to sleep, that is potential energy. So that's how plants convert energy in nature. In this case, an apple, being a food, has chemical energy stored in it in form of starch or glucose or other nutrients we derive from plants. When eaten by man, it is converted to mechanical energy, which is in form of kinetic and potential. So in riding this bicycle, the movement energy is kinetic energy. Then he will ride at some point and his body will get heated up, or he'll perspirate. That's heat energy due to the deposit of fats in his body. Then in the long run, when the bicycle is paddled, it will generate some sound. That's sound energy conversion. Then lastly, when he halts the bicycle, that is returning back to potential energy. So there's a lot of energy conversion taking place here. I talked about the cell earlier. The cell has lead and electrode, and when connected in a device like the flashlight, will produce light energy. And guess what? When this battery works for a while, it begins to generate heat energy because it gets a bit hot and lightens the bulb. Then the bulb, when it's lightened up, is called light energy. Then when you turn off the switch, it returns back to potential energy.